Welcome to Being Reintegrated. This is Tim Wright. We're looking at a book right now, Abbe Fournie's The Simple Initiate. I finally received my physical copy and was super grateful that we were able to pull this off. Kim Publishing, obviously, is the name of the publishing arm if you haven't seen it yet. But each page is summarized of the French. And I don't want to do comparisons. You can always go to the Codex and read Abbe Fournie's full work yourself. But what this book has, which other books do not, is the potential second part of Abbe Fournie's treatise. It was in manuscript 4127 from the Bibliothèque Municipale de Grenoble that I learned of this through some really cool studies. It was called the New Coen instruction, and Amadou pretty much said that the images of Prunelle were related to this, and that's what got me fired up about it. Then I learned from Dominique Clarambeau that 4127 was at Grenoble, and it was not an Amadou version from Carascript, that no one can get any of these books. So as I was doing my research, I found that I just had to hit up Grenoble, and they sent me digitals of 4127. So thank you. I was finally able to get that. And then what I did is I used a AI transcription service to get it into French, and then I translated it from French to English and then put it into sections. So that is in the Simple Initiate book 4127. Now, most people won't know that because I didn't really advertise that. In this book, we have a page-by-page breakdown of Fournie's first book, and then a potentially new segmented version of the second book. Now, what I didn't do, obviously there's always something missing. I mean, if you're just going and throwing out money to get something, you can never do these things fully complete. And the reason why is because in 4127, there's work that, is just not referenced. So what I'll do on here on Being Reintegrated is show you why I come to these conclusions and why I don't think any other author has found this. And it's not to be mean or rude. It's just to show you that I did my research on this. So I'm not talking out of the side of my neck because I think I want to know something, or I position myself in a marketplace where there's potential people to be exploited from not knowing what they're talking about. So I have 4127 right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the images, and I'll show you why I think that this manuscript is essentially the one that I'm talking about. Because as you'll see in the actual work itself, I gotta pull it up. Sorry, it takes me a second. Once I pull it up, though, you'll see it. And then we'll add another window. But I was going to go through Fournie, but now it looks like we're just going to go through 4127. So, my face is gone a little bit, but you can see the manuscript. So, I mean, I know you wanted to keep looking at me, but here we go. Here's 4127 from France, and that you'll be able to read in English in Abbe Fournie's Simple Initiate. So one thing that we should immediately show you is that it has the same kind of handwriting as Abbe Fournie's. It's run on, there's not much there, but what you're going to see here in this original manuscript is they talk about the perpendicular. They talk about this image, which is on the actual book of Fournie. So he's going through it again. But what started showing me wasn't just those, and the talks about the perpendicular, the breaking of the perpendicular, but when we actually get deeper into the document, as you'll see, there's images that prove that all of this was done by the same hand. And I'm thinking that it was Saint Martin making copies of Pierre Fournie's work. So I called this the Treatise on Resurrection, according to scholars and everything, but it's actually New Coen instruction. And as you see, the work is a little bit extensive, so it took a little bit of time to get all this wrangled up. But now you'll start to see, do you see that? That's called the globules. And that is specifically from Pierre Fournie's artist's work. Now, you'll be able to see it on numbers from Saint Martin too, which I have no doubt in my mind that Pierre Fournie and Saint Martin were actually colleagues. But you'll see that, and it has a little bit more of these representations that weren't immediately available. I didn't really show them because it's not an art book. And you see how they're within the text. So French doesn't break down like English does. These are just, it would be a nightmare to paginate all of this. Unless I were to make the book a couple of hundred pages more and put facsimiles of each one of these pages. So we're just going through it, showing you a little bit of why the simple initiate is so important. And here's the perpendicular. So this goes pretty much in the tradition of Martinus de Pasquale. You'll see you have the divine immensity, you have the celestial immensity, and the universe. And then you have the terrestrial immensity, which is all those globules. So let me switch it back now. So you see that this contained a lot of explanation. Again, we have here the 7 cylinders or whatever that are explained on Pierre Fournie's first book. So those are a few markers that made me think, oh, this has got to be Pierre Fournie. Plus, Amadou said it was pretty much Pierre Fournie, and it's in the style of Pierre Fournie. If you read it in the back of the Simple Initiate, which is now available for the first time in English, you'll see that it very much has the same kind of language that Pierre Fournie's first book has. So those art illustrations are what makes the book pretty much the second part of Pierre Fournie's work. And you see how it's all run on. So even the copyist, even if the copyist was Saint Martin and he put his global explanation here, which actually isn't in on numbers, translated by Piers Vaughan. I don't know if anybody was seeing these coincidences, but some of these global conversations are talked about on numbers, but they're finished here, and they talk. I'm thinking this could be the missing portion of the Treatise of Reintegration of Beings. So it's all there in the Simple Initiate. I'm trying to give you a scroll through, so it's annoying, but that's what you're here for, is to be annoyed by me and go through this stuff which no one else knows or will go through. Drinking my wonderful coffee. So it's all French, it's all run on. There's very little sectioning whatsoever. As you see, there are some paragraph breaks, but there's no topics, there's no chapter headings. It's just one gigantic document with little to no corrections. I mean, it goes all the way through. So I'm thinking it was a copy. You see hardly no scratch outs, no marginalia, no annotations, no footnotes. There's no references to other works. There's not even really biblical references. It's just basically stream of consciousness all the way through all these pages, giving you a very similar vibe to Pierre Fournie's, what we have been, what we are, and what we will become, you know. Uh, and so this is something that immediately we start losing the illustrations. It tells you those pivotal instructions, and then it just goes on and on and on, and it's very much in the same vein of Pierre Fournie. So though we don't have a confirmed Pierre Fournie source for this, no other Coen document is like this one. Even Lessons of Leon is dated. So it shows me this isn't Lyonnais mysticism, which comes from the Grenoble manuscript tradition. It's not written by Willermos, so this was a nicer hand that wrote this with French. It makes me think that it was either, and now I haven't done the textual analysis, so I can't prove that it was Prunelle de Lier. I could, but I'm not going to. But I'm pretty sure this is Saint-Martin because it looks a lot like the way Saint-Martin wrote. It's pretty elegant. It's really good. And you'll be able to see a translation of it for the first time. If you know French and you can do your textual criticism, I mean, go in there and do a critical version of this. That would be amazing. I would not be begrudged to see you do a better version of this book, because it's definitely worth it if you understand the teachings. Now, the problem is since it's so run on, and since you'll see there's really just no divisions, that it just goes on and on and on. It's the song that never ends kind of thing. And, that's what we're looking at right now. And it's okay, but it's not what we need in the English restricted language. Hardly anybody's going to go learn French, and very rarely will anybody go do the written analysis of handwriting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down there so we can look at the copy of Prunelle of Pierre Fournie's What We Have Been, What We Are, and What We Will Become from the website of the Coen Codex. So this is a very amazing work that the Unknown Emulator has translated for us. So we now have this fully available. So I'm just going to show you the Codex and why it's so important to get into, so to speak. So you see page 4 here. It's all paginated, by the way. You can see my cursor finally. You couldn't see my cursors and other things. So page 4 here is paginated. And on the commentary, you'll see page 4 on page 2 of the book is titled The Necessity of Diligently Following Teachings to Overcome Ignorance. Now, I chose this at random, so I'm not sure whether or not anything good is going to come out of it. But you'll see the pagination, it starts in the middle of a sentence. So, just a little bit from page 3, it says, "So when after our original prevarication, God again gave us the idea of his existence, if we had all refused until now to follow the teachings he gave us so that we might come to know him, we would still be deep in the ignorance in which our original prevarication had buried us. This ignorance would rob us of even the slightest idea of what God is in himself. In the same way, those of us whom we speak of his existence and who refuse to follow or practice his teachings, which we give them so that they may come to know him, remain visibly mired in their original ignorance of God. It reads so clear. An unknown emulator did such a good job here. But moreover, it should be easy for us to see that to know mathematics, it is not enough to hear about this science lightly and without paying attention to it, or to be instructed either by a simple reading or by a passing conversation or the result of some of its operations. Rather, it is necessary for us to follow assiduously its teachings, which are traced out for us by the mathematicians. For the same reason, in order to come to know God, it is not enough for us to hear occasionally about him and his works. Preacher's note. Nor to read the books which speak of him, but we must necessarily follow assiduously his teachings, which constitute Christian morality. Now, that's really clear. And here is a summary of this page in the book, The Simple Initiate. And I went through every single page to do this. So, not only does it have 4127, which no other book has even attempted to grasp, and it has a very clear translation of it that was edited by an unknown emulator. But page 4 in the commentary says, the passage argues that to truly understand mathematics, it is not sufficient to hear about it casually or to be exposed to its results in passing. One must diligently follow the teachings of mathematics. The same is true for understanding God. Merely hearing about God or reading occasional text about him is not enough. To know God truly, one must earnestly follow his teachings, which form Christian morality. Just as we must commit to the study of mathematics to overcome ignorance in that field, we must commit to living according to Christian teachings to overcome the spiritual ignorance that keeps us from knowing God. Now, you'll see that is not a summary. That is actually point by point what was said on page 4 that you can read in the Coen Codex. It's available free. The translator's not trying to charge you a bunch of money and make a namesake for himself. He just said, hey, let's make this available with your commentary, and I think we'll do justice to Fournie. Now, no one really did justice to Fournie. He was, even Samartan was like, it's the ravings of a madman. Kind of like me. That's why I'm glad we have the videos of the book publishing to make sure, you don't just see me on a YouTube channel and it's like blah, 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 blah. We actually have books to follow these lectures. Otherwise, you would be completely confused. One day I'm talking about 4127 and it's iconographic and textual similarity with the first volume of Fournie. Then I'm mentioning Fournie. And then I'll give you in this video series, which no one has, that there's a key to this entire book structure in the Red Book that we have published. So a lot of people have purchased the Red Book. This book works as a master key to unlock the Coen. Now, I know that it hasn't been spoken about before, so, it would seem as if that is a bold statement. But it actually, I've been studying this stuff for years, and I can tell you that all of the material gets more clear as you read through the Red Book. Even stuff I'm working on right now from the Green Book is clarified through the Red Book. As I've been reading it, I'm like, oh, wow, I wish I would have known that. It would have saved me so much time in trying to think through the stuff myself while reading all the primary sources. So anyway, that's the Codex. I just wanted to go ahead and definitely show you what we were doing here. Let's go back up there. Oh! And I just wanted to show you why the commentary is so valuable to our studies of Pierre Fournie. Maybe next we'll do some Abbe Julio or Abbe Burrell, I think is his name. We'll get you some of these clergy representations from the Coen, so you can see a little bit more about what a priest is supposed to do and the teachings of the Elu Coen. Thanks for stopping and checking out this video.